and a very warm welcome, although it's not so warm from here in the UK. We're still in lockdown, so I thought I'd use this opportunity for my daily exercise to talk to you guys. A few weeks ago, I received a message from a subscriber, Bob Chill. Hi there, Bob, if you're watching this. And Bob said, I wondered if you could do a video in a little more detail about how an MD can get familiar with the score. How much prep do you do for rehearsals, and how do you know when you're ready to lead the band and singers? Sometimes I think I know the music and then realise on the day that I don't know it as well as I thought I did. Well, Bob, and anyone else falling into this trap, the subject for this week's video is being prepared. Benjamin Franklin said, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. How did you know I was going to use that quote? Well, he's absolutely right. Just learning to play your score doesn't make you an effective teacher. There's a great deal more to it than that. I'm going to give you four tips on ensuring that what happened to Bob doesn't happen to you. The music director not only directs the music, but leads on all things related to how the music is interpreted. You should know more about the music than anyone else involved in the production. Much more than just teaching what's in the score. There always seems to be an individual in a company that thinks they know better than the MD, or is it just me that's experienced that? Make sure that these members don't know the score better than you. Thorough preparation, then, is vital. Tip number 1. Research your production. Watch films, documentaries, interviews, archive footage on your production, and listen to as many different recordings of it as possible. YouTube is a great source of such information. Hunt out any early or original recordings as well, but as these will have been under the direction, or very likely to be under the direction, of the writer. Different recordings will also give you different interpretations of the music from different music directors. Note the different interpretations before making your own decisions on how you want your production to sound. Note the different interpretation of style, tempo, and phrasing of each number. Research the origins of the musical. Is it based on a true story, for instance? Research any historical background. This might seem over the top, but the more you know about the production, the more you'll be in a position to answer all things related to it. Immerse yourself in all things related to the production. Tip number 2. Read the script. Personally, I used to fall foul of this rule and only concentrated on the score without actually knowing anything about the plot itself. Get to know the story thoroughly. You should read the libretto or script 2 or 3 times at least. Just knowing the score isn't enough. Get a full insight into the characters, how they fit into the story, and in agreement with the director, how each character should interpret each number, the context of the number, and why it is in the production at all. Every number in every musical should be, and I know it's not always the case, but should be there for a reason. And each number should further the plot in some way. If you don't know the context in which the number appears in the production, you can't lead on its interpretation. Let me give you an example. Towards the end of Act 1 in Miss Saigon, the lead character Kim sings the number I'd Give My Life for You. She has been separated through circumstances of the Vietnam War from her lover and husband, and as such, could be singing about this experience. But only by knowing the story, you know that actually she's singing about giving her life to ensure her son, that has just been revealed to the audience, has a better life. You should know the story then, and exactly what each number is saying. Tip number 3. Decode and practice the score. Once you have done the research I've suggested, if you now open the score, you are in a much stronger position to interpret it. Many scores nowadays are what's known as piano conductor scores, which have an overview of the orchestration, containing instrumental cues, woodwind and string lines, counter melodies, flourishes and runs. These scores can seem very overwhelming at first. As part of your exercise to decode the score, take each number in turn and break it down into the following: vocalist cues, a strong bass line to ensure that the music for rehearsal flows, and any orchestral cues that give the sense to the company what the orchestration will sound like. Concentrate on getting the harmonic context and vocal lines, and don't get bogged down ensuring that every flourish and note that is printed in the score is played. Many of them are unplayable anyway. No one could be expected to play this, for instance. Also make sure that decisions have been made as to who sings which harmony line, if for instance the harmony subdivides. Don't leave making such decisions until you're in front of your company. And if the score is ambiguous in any way, make sure this ambiguity has been resolved before you enter the rehearsal room. Practice is vital. Not only practice this different method of playing the score, but sing out loud the vocals you are going to teach. It will have a dual benefit by giving you confidence and also give confidence to your company if you sing the lines with them. Try to get the score into your head as soon as possible, and therefore avoid burying your head into the score when you are teaching. As with looking at your soloists in the eye when giving them cues, get used to looking directly at your company while teaching the score. Different MDs tend to teach in different ways, in as far as some teach all the musical interpretation nuances right from the beginning, and some teach the notes and then start to layer the interpretation later in the rehearsal process. I don't feel that there's any hard and fast rule on this, and really it's whatever works for you. And before we go any further, let's go indoors. Whew, that's better. Okay, tip number 4 then, preparing your score. In another video, I talked about marking up your score with all kinds of notes and details to ensure that when you lead rehearsals, you are being consistent. Things like how you're going to beat or conduct a particular passage, tempos, and notes on diction. Diction is something you need to be aware of at all times. Think about those who have never heard your musical before, for instance. Also, ensure that the words sound natural. Well-written scores will have the lyrics written in such a way to make it sound natural. Beware of over-pronunciation. For instance, the opening line of A Little Shop of Horrors has the lyrics, little shop of horrors, little shop of terror. Because to sing Little Shop of Horrors wouldn't sound natural. Try it. Another example I always use when talking about making lyrics sound natural is from the musical Guys and Dolls. Sit down, you're rocking the boat. For the people all said sit down, you're rocking the boat would sound very unnatural if sung exactly as written. What sounds much more natural is, for the people all said sit down, you're rocking the boat. These two examples also handle American accents. So not only does it sound natural, it also gives the American accent required in both musicals. Try and recite the lyrics throughout the score yourself and identify any difficult phrases. Make a note in your score of these to ensure you're prepared in rehearsal. It's also good practice to make a note of any particular passage or passages that may require some breath control, and decide where your company should take a breath in such passages. Of course, avoid any breaths mid-phrase and certainly mid-word. Try concentrating on lyrics. Try to commit some of these to memory as soon as you can to ensure that your head isn't buried in the score when you're looking at your company. Of course, the more you rehearse, the easier this will become. So to recap then, tip number 1, research your production. Tip number 2, read the script. Tip number 3, decode and practice the score. Tip number 4, prepare your score. The more preparation you put in through research and practice, the more confident you will become during rehearsal. And in turn, the more confidence you will give to your company, ensuring they give their very best for you at all times. See you next time.